Hello everyone. Today we are going to study about problem soils. Problem soils can be of three types. They can be chemical problem soils, physical problem soils, or biological problem soils. Sometimes all these can together lead to nutritional problem soils. Let's see one by one. First one is the chemical problem soils, and in that acid soils. Whenever we hear the name acid soils, the first thing that will come to our mind will be its pH. What will be the pH of acid soils? Yeah, it will be less than 6.5. And in such soils, there will be more H plus ion activity, and they will be having high degree of adsorbed aluminum and hydrogen. The acid soils are base unsaturated soils. Base unsaturated soil means they'll be having very little or minute or sometimes even absence of this base cations. Can you tell me some of the base cations? Yeah, calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, all these are the base cations. So in the acid soils, these base cations will be either absent or present in small concentrations only, and the predominant ions will be hydrogen and aluminum. These type of soils arises where the precipitation exceeds the evapotranspiration. The soil acidity can be broadly classified into two types. First one is the active acidity. Active acidity is the acidity that develops due to the presence of hydrogen ions and to some extent of the aluminum ions in the soil solution. Presence of H plus and aluminum ions in soil solution. And active acidity is the acidity that which we are using to measure the pH. Whenever we are checking the pH, we are finding out the active acidity of the soil. And the second type is the reserve acidity. It is also called the exchangeable acidity, potential acidity, or the salt replaceable acidity. It refers to the acidity at the exchange complex, that is the concentration of hydrogen and aluminum at the exchange complex. So this is due to the presence of hydrogen and aluminum in exchange complex. Active acidity is due to the presence of H plus and aluminum ions in soil solution. Reserve acidity due to concentration of hydrogen and aluminum in the exchange complex. So we know that in the soil colloids there will be many exchangeable sites. So the basic cations which we have already discussed will be present in all these exchangeable sites. Okay. So whenever there is an excess concentration of hydrogen and aluminum, these base cations will be replaced by them. This hydrogen and aluminum will go and occupy the exchangeable sites of the base cations. So they will be removed from the soil. So the soil become base unsaturated, and thus the acidity develops. Now let's see the genesis of acid soil. That means how the acid soils are developed. Very first one is the parent material. Like human beings or any other organism, the soil also inherit characters from its parent. When the parent is acidic in nature, the soil formed from it will also be acidic. Can anyone please tell me an acidic rock? Granite. Granite is acidic in nature. So the soil that is formed from granite will be obviously acidic in nature. Second thing is the high rainfall. High rainfall, what will happen when it is raining? Whenever it is raining, when the water reaches the soil, when it is flowing, these cations, base cations that is already present in the soil, that will get dissolved in the water, and along with the water flowing, it will also be leached out. So the thing that is happening during high rainfall is the leaching out or the washing out of the base cations. So again it will lead to an base unsaturated condition. Third thing is the organic matter. Do you wonder how organic matter can lead to acid soils? Because organic matter will undergo decomposition. We know during decomposition of organic matter there are three main products One is the humus, then organic acid and acid salt. Organic acid and acid salt will directly reduce the pH of the soil. And what about the humus? Humus makes a soil acidic because it contains functional groups like carboxylic group. Okay, so that can reduce the pH of the soil. Then next one is the acid forming fertilizer. Whenever we have learnt about the fertilizer, we have studied about the acid forming fertilizers and all. So for example, in case of ammonium sulfate, when we are applying ammonium sulfate, the nitrogen is present in the ammoniacal form and the sulfur is present in the sulfate form. The soil will be already having some of the basic cations. For example, calcium is present in the soil. You are adding the ammonium sulfate to the soil. This sulfate will go and combine with calcium and it is precipitated out as calcium sulfate. So calcium is removed from the soil when you add the ammonium sulfate fertilizer. That is just an example. So that will also lead to formation of acidic condition in the soil. And next one is the industrial effluents. Many of the waste material or the byproducts that are produced from the industries will make the soil acidic. Now we need to do something to bring back our acid salt to the near neutral pH. So that is a reclamation, and for acid soils we will be doing liming. Acid soil liming, acid lime, acid liming. The thing that we have to remember here is that the liming material which we use, in that the accompanying anion must be one that can reduce the activity of H plus and aluminum in the soil solution. Okay, so how does this work? In the diagram you can see clay is having H plus. You are adding a liming material, for example calcium carbonate. The calcium from the calcium carbonate will replace the H plus ion of the clay and it will give water and carbon dioxide. So you are giving, or you are adding the base cations to the soil, and thereby you are increasing the pH of the soil. So we need to know how much lime we should apply. For that we need to learn about the lime requirement. This was given by Shoemaker and his co-workers in 1961. It can be defined as the amount of liming material that must be added to raise the pH to some prescribed value. That is, often we need neutral, right? So near neutral pH 6 to 7. So that is the lime requirement. So what are some common liming material? First one is calcitic limestone, that is calcium carbonate. So there you can see a term CCE. What is the CCE? That is calcium carbonate equivalent. The calcium carbonate equivalent of liming material is also called the neutralizing value, because you are going to neutralize the acidity that is present in the soil. Okay, so it is defined as the acid neutralizing capacity of an agricultural liming material expressed as weight percentage of calcium carbonate. The equation to find out, that is CC of liming material is equal to molecular weight of calcium carbonate divided by molecular weight of a liming material whose CC is to be determined into 100. So this gives you the calcium carbonate equivalent of the liming material or neutralizing value. Okay, how much is needed to neutralize, which is expressed as a percentage of calcium carbonate. Okay, so for calcium carbonate the CC is 100. For magnesium carbonate it is 119. For burnt lime or the quick lime, that is CaO, that is the oxide of calcium, that is 179. For a hydrated lime or slakered lime, it is that is CaOH twice, it is 136. For dolomitic limestone, that is the calcium magnesium carbonate, the CCA value is 109. And for CaSiO3 the CC is 86. Not only these materials, but marl, oyster shells, basic slags, etc., all these can be used as the liming material. Okay, now another one term that we need to know is the neutralizing index or the percent effective calcium carbonate, or ECC, that is equal to the calcium carbonate equivalent into fineness factor. The definition for fineness factor is that the sum of the product of percentage of material in each of the three size fractions multiplied by the appropriate effectiveness factor. Okay. So far we were talking about the acid soils. Now can someone please guess what this image depicts? This is acid sulfate soils. So now we are going to learn about the acid sulfate soils. The pH of the acid sulfate soil is less than 4. It develops due to the oxidation of the pyritic materials in the soil. Pyritic material means sulfur containing minerals. I'm sorry, I spelled it as material, it is minerals. Soils with sufficient sulfate, so these soils will be having much enormous value of amount of the sulfides. And the acid sulfate soils contain a sulfuric horizon which has a pH of 1:1 soil-to-water ratio of less than 3.5. So there in this acid sulfate soil there will be a separate sulfuric horizon, and in that horizon pH will be less than 3.5, and also that horizon will be yellow in color. Okay. So that was about the acid things. Now we are moving to the salt things, salt affected soils. So salt affected soils means you can imagine that soils will be containing more amount of the carbonates, bicarbonates, sulfates, chlorides of calcium, magnesium, sodium, etc. Okay, so those are called the salt affected soils. And the first thing we are going to learn here is a saline sodic soils. Exactly where it is present in India. It is present in the semi-arid Indo-Gangetic alluvial tracts, mainly in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and a part of Bihar. The arid tracts of Rajasthan and Gujarat. In the arid and semi-arid tracts of the southern states, particularly of the irrigated rigor, that is a vertisol soils. And also they occur in the coastal alluvium. It is estimated that about 7 million hectares of land have been affected by the salinity or sodicity conditions in India. So in India, this salt affected soil is a major soil problem. This salt affected soil is mainly classified into 4 types, that is a saline soil, alkali soil, saline alkali soil or saline sodic soil, degraded sodic or degraded alkali soil. The saline soil, first let's see about the saline soil. They are also called the white alkali or Solon chalk soils. They are formed by the process called salinization. Okay, they develops due to the excess soluble salt. Here one thing we need to know is that in the saline soil, the salt of calcium, magnesium and sodium will be present, and this calcium and magnesium, all these things will be present in the soil solution. Okay, and the soil pH will be less than 8.5. EC will be greater than 4 decisiemens per meter, and ESP, exchangeable sodium percentage. The equation is exchangeable sodium by CEC into 100. That will be less than 15 of the total CEC. Okay, and the physical condition will be flocculated. Okay, so do you wonder why it is flocculated? Because I told you in saline soils there will be calcium and magnesium ions also. Actually they will be more dominant than the sodium ions. Okay, so these divalent cations, they will be tightly adsorbed on the exchangeable sites of the soil colloids, and this tight adsorption reduces the zeta potential of the soil exchangeable complex. When the zeta potential reduces, what will happen? The clay particles attract each other and they'll get flocculated, and the soil structure will be optimum, like not bad. Okay, the next soil is the alkali soil. Alkali soils are also called the black alkali soil or the sodic soil or solenites. It is formed due to the process of alkalization. It develops due to excess sodium on the soil complex. See, here it is not present in the soil solution. It is due to the presence of excess sodium ions present in the soil complex. So how does this happen? This alkali soils usually develops in the arid climatic condition or arid soil conditions. So in such condition, the soil solution become concentrated through evaporation or water absorption by the plants. So when it gets concentrated, the solubility limits of the calcium sulfate, calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate, etc. All those things will get, that the solubility limits will get exceeded. So what is the next choice? They will get precipitated with corresponding increase in the sodium ion concentration. So now calcium, magnesium, all those salts get precipitated. Sodium has got in excess. Under such condition, part of the original exchangeable calcium and magnesium is replaced by sodium. That is, calcium and magnesium is replaced by sodium. That will result in the alkali salts. Okay. The pH will be greater than 8.5 and the EC will be less than 4 decisimon per meter. ESP will be greater than or equal to 15 of the total CEC. And here the physical condition of the soil will be deflocculated. How? Because here there is no calcium and magnesium. Here it is sodium. This sodium will increase the zeta potential of the exchangeable sites. So there will not be any attraction, there will be a repulsion. So they will move away, there is no attraction, so they will get deflocculated. And this results in a very poor soil structure. Moving on to the next one is a saline alkali soil or saline sodic soil. That is a combination. Okay, it is formed due to the salinization and alkalization, and there will be both sodium clay and soluble salts also, and the pH will be greater than 8.5 with EC greater than 4 decisimon per meter, and the ESP greater than or equal to 15 of the total CEC. And the physical condition actually depends on the sodium salt and sodium clay, which is more abundant. Okay, according to that it will be showing the physical condition. Last one is a degraded sodic or degraded alkali soils. They are also called the solody soils. And here the upper layer will be having more of the H plus and the lower layer will be having more of sodium ions. The EC will be less than 4 decisimon per meter and the ESP will be less than 15 of the total CEC. These soils will be having low infiltration rate and low permeability, and the soil structure here will be columnar. How is the saline sodic soil formed? Again, the first thing is parent material. So there is a homework for you. You have to find which rock will give rise to saline sodic soil. Next one is a low rainfall. When there is no much rainfall, there will not be any leaching. So base cations will be accumulated. High evaporation, water is lost. Okay. Then poor drainage condition and sometimes poor quality of the irrigation water. High water table because the salts are coming up. Then sea water intrusion. Many times in saline sodic soil occur in non-arid regions because of the sea water intrusion. Okay. Then base forming fertilizers, that will also lead to saline sodic soil forming. How to manage the saline soils? Okay, here management of the saline soils. First one is a crop management. You have to wisely choose the crop, like field crops, cotton, sugar beet, sorghum, wheat, and in vegetables you can go for tomato, cabbage, potato and onion. And the next management type is the soil or cultural management. Here, using the sloping beds with seeds planted on the sloping side just above the water line. Means you are going to plant the seeds on the sloping sides, not on the center. Why? Because in the center there will be maximum accumulation of the salt. So when there is more salt, there will be very less chance of germination. So that's why we are not planting the seed or sowing the seed on the center. You have to go to the slopes. The next one is a straw mulching. And the third type is the fertilizer management. Here you can go for addition of the organic manures or green manures. So when you are adding these manures, again it will go for decomposition. Decomposition will give rise to acids and organic acids and humus. So they will lower the pH. Last one is the irrigation management. For irrigation purpose, you can use a proportional mixing of good quality water with the saline water. Or you can go for the alternate furrow irrigation than preferring the flooding. Then rather than going for flooding, you can use drip, sprinkler or pitcher irrigation also. So these can manage the saline soils. Next one is the management of the sodic soils. Sodic soil, the first method is the physical amelioration, and here you cannot actually remove the sodicity. You are going to improve the physical condition of the soil through improvement in the infiltration and aeration using the physical amelioration. So the first method in that one is a deep ploughing. To break the hard pan developed at the subsurface due to the sodium and improving the free movement water and aeration. Second one is providing better drainage to improve the aeration and to remove the further accumulation of salts at the root zone. And third one is a sand filling, which reduces the heaviness of the soil and increases the capillary movements of the water. And last one is a profile inversion, that is you are simply inverting the soil, which is a tough task in fact. Next method is a biological method, and here we are going to choose some crops. The best one will be rice because it can grow under submergence, it can tolerate a fair extent of ESP, and it can also influence several microbial processes in the soil. So rice is a best option. Or you can go for agroforestry systems like silvipastoral system, etc. Then we can grow some grasses like paragrass, Bermuda grass, all those. And the third option that we can do for managing is chemical amelioration. It is the application of materials that directly or indirectly furnish or mobilize the divalent cations. Divalent cations are calcium, magnesium. Okay. Followed by, after that you have to do leaching. That is followed by leaching to remove the soluble salts and other reaction products. Now let's see the equivalent quantities of some common amendments for sodic soil reclamation. The amendment used, first one is gypsum. The relative quantity is 1 ton. Calcium chloride 0.85, sulfuric acid 0.57, iron sulfate 1.62, aluminum sulfate 1.29, sulfur 0.19, pyrite 0.63, calcium polysulfate 0.77. So now we are done with the chemical soil, okay, chemical problem soils. Now let's get into the physical problems. First one is a slow permeable soil. That is, the permeability is very slow. It is mainly due to very high clay content, and the infiltration rate will be less than 6 cm per day. Okay, due to the abundance of the clay content, there will be very less infiltration rate. So because of this less infiltration rate, more runoff will be there, and this leads to the soil erosion and the nutrient removal. Since the capillary porosity is high, it leads to the impeded drainage, poor aeration and reduced conditions also. The next type is excessively permeable soils, dead opposite. Sandy soils containing more than 70% of the sand fractions occur in the coastal areas, river delta and in the desert belts. And such soils results in the poor water retention capacity, very high hydraulic conductivity and infiltration rate, so they cannot hold anything, everything will be lost. Third one is a subsoil hardening. It occurs due to the illuviation of the clay to the subsoil horizons coupled with the cementing action of the oxides of iron, aluminum and calcium carbonate. So what is illuviation? Illuviation means it is washing in, okay. So the clay will be moving into the sub-horizon and they will form a hard pan or surface subsoil and all, so there will be hardening. The next one is the surface crusting. It occurs due to the presence of colloidal oxides of iron and aluminum in soils, which binds the soil particles under the wet regimes, and when it will get dry, it forms a hard mass on the surface. Next is the shallow soils. It develops due to the presence of barren rocks immediately below the soil surface, that is 15 to 20 centimeters, so they cannot be deep, they will be very shallow. And the last one is a fluffy paddy soils. We know puddling is an important operation that is done in the traditional method of paddy cultivation. This puddling results in the substantial breakdown of the soil aggregates into a uniform structureless mass. The solid and the liquid phases of the soil are thus changed. So under continuous flooding and submergence of the soil for rice cultivation in cropping sequence of rice, that is when you are continuously growing rice one after the next, the soil particles are always in a state of flux and the mechanical strength is lost. So this will lead to the fluffiness of the soil. Now we can move to the irrigation water, the quality of irrigation waters. First one is the electrical conductivity or EC. It is a measure of total soluble salts in the waters. here I have given the USDA classification of waters based on the EC. So according to this USDA classification, low saline water means the EC will be 0.250 decisiemens per meter. That will be good for irrigation and can be used. And medium saline water can also be used for irrigation. The high saline and very saline will be poor and very poor and cannot be used for irrigation purpose. Potential salinity is equal to half into sulfate plus chloride concentrations. And then purest salt index, that is equal to the total sodium minus 24.5 minus total calcium minus calcium as calcium carbonate into 4.85. Next is the SAR, that is sodium adsorption ratio, that is equal to sodium divided by square root of calcium plus magnesium divided by 2. Root of. Then soluble sodium percentage, that is SSP, that is equal to sodium divided by calcium plus magnesium plus potassium plus sodium. RSC, or the residual sodium carbonate, that is equal to carbonate plus bicarbonate minus calcium plus magnesium. The permeability index of the irrigation water is given by sodium plus bicarbonate divided by calcium plus magnesium plus sodium into 100. The next one is the boron. If it is less than 0.75 milligram per liter, it is suitable for irrigation, and when the boron content is 0.75 to 2 milligram per liter, it is moderately suitable, and when it is more than 2 milligram per liter, it cannot be used for irrigation. When it comes to fluorine, when the fluorine content in the irrigation water is less than 1.0 milliequivalents per liter, it is suitable, and when it is greater than 15, it is not suitable for irrigation water. I hope you have understood what I have told today. Thanks for listening. Thank you.